All right, so now I will start recording, and I didn't mute my mic before I hit start recording, so the intro page has me talking. But you know, whatever. And there we go. Movie magic. Look at me, I've got a fancy background. Oh,
It's pretty cool.
that's. I'm glad, considering how jury rigged it is. I'm surprised how well it works. I
Yeah,
literally,
it
I
works.
like I literally put a couple of eye screws in the ceiling, and
Okay.
there's a PVC pipe that I had laying around, and then there's an old curtain that happened to be like one color from when we did curtains in my daughter's room, and so I'm like, oh, I got these purple, like just flat purple curtains, so I'll use those as a green screen before like the $20 green screen, eventually shows up in like a few weeks because it's non-essential. Um,
Uh, I
yeah.
need to do that so that I can have a green screen in the back when I do conference calls with work.
Oh, right. All sorts
You'd
of
be
things
like
back there.
floating in space and stuff, or like on the beach.
Or just like a text banner that says "Shut up, I'm a doctor." Uh,
Respect my thought, huh?
yeah.
And then pizza.
My professional medical opinion is for you dumbasses to stay home. Stop claiming a lack of Baskin Robbins is a infringement on your rights. Um,
I need a haircut.
yeah. Oh man, I think my proposal was that we start calling right-wing boomers. We start calling them millennials, so we can have all the same hacky entitlement jokes that have been floating around forever. They just suddenly become relevant now that we've like just changed what the label means. Um, so it's amazing how many like preppers you see out and about. They're like, I'm stocked and ready for the apocalypse. I've got 3 years of food and shelter ready to go. And then it's like a month in, they're just like, give me ice cream. It's like,
Yeah,
guys,
losing their
just okay. Ooh.
The internet's still working. Figure out how to make your own damn ice cream.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Um, well, that's probably the first of many tangents because you and I have known each other for 21 years. Math is my strong suit. It's 22 years ish.
Yeah.
It might be 23 here in the fall or something like that. I don't know. We met in middle school and haven't stopped giving each other shit since. And shut up, cat. I can't
Your
edit out
cat
sounds.
wants you to say how many years you've been with the cat too.
Oh yeah, like singular. I don't know. It's not my cat.
Poor cat.
Don't want to pet it either. Belongs to the roommate who works in the hospital. I'm joking, cat. Go away.
Cats carry the virus better than dogs.
I think that's probably accurate.
It is scientifically proven.
Yeah.
Serious.
There's I think one of my personal favorite responses I had for somebody. They were a little frustrated because they went to the store and the cashier was spouting a bunch of conspiracy theories about being a hoax and all that, and with people like that you can almost never rationalize with them. You can't really bring them back to reality with facts and figures. Like if it was gonna work, it would have worked by now. But you can
Yeah, exactly.
you can go one step crazier. That is an option. So my advice is always just like be like, yeah, man. And since the '80s, they've been putting a chemical in the Bibles to make you complacent with their orders. That's why you still pay taxes. And and they're just like, what? And they'll be like, that's crazy. And then you'd be like, no, oh, I see, sheeple. And then you just like pay and leave. So it's like you can't, like, sometimes you don't have the energy to like fight it, and it's just like, all right, I'm gonna stick one extra layer of crazy on here and leave. And
Fight fire with fire.
a little bit, like, sometimes you gotta, a gentle correction isn't gonna do anything, so you just sort of like jostle them a little bit, and then you hope something shakes loose up there and they come back to reality.
Or they go and research the madness you've talked to them about.
They go and they like
Take it one step further.
Yeah, and they'd be like, come back. You come back a week later and be like, I looked it up and you're right. They've all been done.
Where did you get your information?
Right. Oh man, if you're really good at making web pages, every time you do that, you go make a web page, and oh, so many layers.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's move on from your attack helicopter in the background, and not the one on the shelf. I mean, out the window.
Oh.
Yeah. Good luck, man.
You see him too?
Yeah, they're all over. I see them from here. You're like 2 states away, but I'm just like, oh yeah, there it is. Oh man, this is gonna happen a lot. This is what happens when you know somebody for more than half your life. You kind of like, you get into a groove of BSing when you have things to accomplish. Anyways, so
focus.
Yeah. I don't know if you've looked at the other guys. Everybody but Doug has done theirs. And they're all up on the YouTube channel. But it's basically, we're just gonna go over some backstory stuff, hash some things out, go over your like character build kind of things, and like maybe like future plans you might want to go into, and how we can like hook those in narratively. And then we can go over your trinket a little bit there at the end as well. So we will begin with backstory stuff. So you are running Ur'Durz, and we are all giving you, I think, a sufficient amount of crap about that, because I mean, you did just like go to a hobgoblin name generator, right? And you just went like, you just like hit, like, I imagine you hitting it once, seeing Ur'Durz, and being like, good enough, and like moving on.
Yeah, that's what happened. I mean, when you do something like that and you get the name Ur'Durz, and I mean, it's gold,
it's
you
fair.
don't
and
you don't hit the button or read any of the other names.
Right. And the only like creative liberty I took on it was just I put that little apostrophe thing in there to make it a fantasy name. So it's apostrophe Durz. Oh man. I keep
going against the name generator.
I've noticed this every time, and I haven't actually done this on purpose. It's just happened to be the same pencil every time. That happens to be the right color to like to basically green screen with everything else. So I have an invisible wand, just like in that D&D song about the invisible wand. It's pretty rad actually. And I could reach for a green pencil right now, so it wouldn't do this, but no, I'm not gonna deal with it. Yeah.
It is what it is. That's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, man. So so Ur'Durz, and this actually might be a good place for other players if they're watching through these. This might be a good time for them to leave, because you have sort of an interesting backstory as far as the location that you would be associated with, and things you might want to know more about. So get out of here, players. Stop peeking on other people's backstories. Come back in. I guess I'll put up like an edit thing. Come back in that amount of time. Whatever that ends up being. I'll fix it in post. Wait, what? Where's my
Oh, do it live.
F it. Which reminds me of F it, because I can look up the city name later. I don't need to grab the book. So your character Ur'Durz from the cult-run city of hobgoblins that are worshippers of Lolth, the Spider Queen, which is on the surface awkwardly east of where you all are planning to set up a settlement over there. So you've got that location kind of weaved into your backstory. So what we've had hashed out so far was that, you know, in that assault that the Kryn Dynasty made on that location that ended up failing, there were important people that came along for that assault, so they brought a beacon. And when your character's previous life, when they died in that battle, there was a birth that happened to be happening like right at that time, or before the Luxon could get out of range, and so your soul went into the that hobgoblin birth, and so you lived a young life as like a hobgoblin in this cult, and have begun to re-meld with your previous life as a like a high-ranking Echo Knight. And as you do more meditations and get more experience, you get more and more of a connection with those abilities, which is rad as fuck. As a like that worked out pretty good. Um, and I
It's
forget
pretty cool.
I forget the name of the city, but we can go look it up later. But yeah, the so that city, there's some stuff you would probably know about it. Would be like how it's structured and how their like quote unquote government works. But if you look at any kind of cult situation, so just take literally any cult from like American history, multiply the population by like 5 to 10, and then make them all, instead of worshiping some guy who's charming with his some guyness, they're all worshiping like a literal like evil spider god.
Oh.
Yeah. So something I just thought of that would be interesting is if their sort of claim to fame for like why that settlement was established is there's a nest of the like spiders and chitinous underdark bugs that's actually very near the surface there. So they get a lot of those like monstrous spiders and other like monstrous sort of insectoid like things that bubble up to the surface, and their whole like economy, if you could call it that, is basically based on them harvesting these things for their like that chitin armor type. So the armors you would see walking around in that city would be very similar to armors you'd see out of the Kryn dynasty as far as like style and material they're made out of. Because Kryn dynasty armor also is like a very that chitinous thing with the holes in it that like whistles when warriors run. Yeah, so that could be rad. So you have sort of a background of knowing that they have spider nests, and they basically have. I'm picturing the farms and those things in Skyrim where the man, it's been a while since I've been on Skyrim. The those underground elf guys, the Fremer or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have those little farms where they have those insect things, and they raise them for stuff. So they have this weird like part crab, part spider meat that they're eating a lot of, which you probably have a taste for. Like you'd grow it up with it. So you like if you ever see spider meat, you're just like, oh, I'm getting some. It's like when Charmy sees like Billet at a party, she's just like, I'm getting a bit, and everybody else is like, ah, and then she's just like, no, you don't understand. Like I need it in my mouth, and it's just like I don't understand. I don't get it, but okay, I'm not gonna hate on you because you like it, but also I'll slam a bowl of Dino Go on the blood stew. Like that stuff's good, and but I can't bring myself to do the bullet. It's just I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do
I
it.
don't think I could either.
I can't chew down a duck abortion. It's just not. I just can't do it. My brother tried one time and he almost threw up in the sink. Oh man.
Oh, man.
So side stories aside, NPCs, any NPCs from that area you might want to know or flesh out or have an idea of? Like I picture, because you don't just leave somewhere you grew up and not know anyone.
Yeah.
So you might know someone who's more in the cult. And that could be anything from like an ex-girlfriend to like a mentor to a rival to like literally anything. That's always the problem with D&D backstories when you have your options are everything.
Yeah. Shoot. So I'm like regaining
Mm-hmm.
the the skills with the Echo Knight, right?
Yeah, so it's sort of a weird thing to wrap your head around. So you're still you. You are still the hobgoblin who grew up there. You're still the person who would have been with anyone else's like soul in you. Um, and the idea is that these people's souls, as they get reincarnated, it's still you. It's just you with a different upbringing. And so there's and then so the process, which I also forget the name of. The process of people doing these meditations to kind of merge the two, to take your old self and your new self and get them interwoven into a single person. And people sort of like reach enlightenment when they do that enough times. And some people do like just master one skill set and go that route. And some people are like, well, I spent a whole life as a fighter. Now I'm going to have a whole life as a wizard. And now I'm going to have a whole life as a bard. And like if I do this enough times, I will know all things, and I'll be like a perfect person. And then after that, those people like go outside the range of the beacon to die, to then like go to the literal Luxon, like to actually go to their god, and have their afterlife that way. So
maybe a mentor then, you know, whoever it was that.
And it could be either side of that too. Like you could also have a connection with whoever ordered the strike, or whoever was like the commander of that kind of failed assault. And so that could be kind of who we flesh out. But yeah, but like a mentor. So maybe a mentor on either side. Maybe there's an old mentor you remember who was a pretty like a this would be weird for me to write up, but a good person, like a neutral good cult leader, for the Spider Queen. So
he's doing his job. He's doing it well.
Right. And he's, you know what? This is the reality of the situation, and he's just making sure everybody's got soup. And it's maybe he worships out of fear. He knows like if he steps out of line, the Spider Queen can literally like summon a Drider and send it after him. And the same is true for all of the women and children and men, and everybody that's at that settlement could all just get swarmed by spiders and killed if they upset her. And so so that could be funny, where there's a good guy who is a cult leader, and he's just trying to look out for everybody's best interests, while also being a cult leader. It's just like a really good guy, and happens to lead a cult. So like that could be cool, and then there could be like you could have like a rival too, someone who like you know, in the cult leadership, like you guys were on the same kind of path, and then you got these visions of another life and decided to go pursue it, and he like stayed in the cult. I kind of want to call him Ur'Durz, instead of Ur'Durz. Ur'Durz. So Ur'Durz as like a rival, and so like if he ever spotted you, he'd just be like, Ur'Durz, there you are, and you know, things could ensue from there.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, so that'd be good. He'd just be, I mean, I can write up his abilities and stuff later, but yeah, that'd be a yeah, that sounds fine to me. A side note thing I've been thinking of. We had that inside joke of the bad dads.
Yeah.
And whether or not we work in some bad dadness into your like backstory. So either having a bad dad or being a bad dad. Maybe the good dude who's a cult leader is your dad. So he's real nice. He's like a super nice guy who just really, it's just best for everyone to bow down to Cthulhu.
Yeah.
I almost want to call him like Frank or something. Joe. Urjo. Urger. Urger. Dad. Neutral good. Cult leader. All right. Well, that's kind of cool. We could layer into it more of your previous life. If you were a drow, you might have had kids, like one or two kids, from your previous life who you probably still haven't gone to talk to, because like how do you approach that conversation? Hi, I'm your dad, but also I'm like a third of your age. Um,
mean, it's just how it works.
yeah,
Sometimes your dad is young enough to be your son. So,
I mean sometimes that works out in real life, but we all raise an eyebrow when it does.
yep.
like when like a 30-year-old man leans down to a 12-year-old and goes, "Hey, Aunt Carol, what do you want? What kind of ice cream you want?" And like we all kind of go, "Wait a minute," and again try to do some math in our head and being like,
Oh man.
we're all like, "Wait, what? What happened here?" Um, yeah, that's
But
possible.
with the power of the Luxon and the
Right, just happens
the
sometimes.
the essence of the Echo Knight.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's a good segue, by the way. We can go into your build stuff. So, what drew you to Echo Knight?
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty rad.
Just really like the idea behind it because it's they're like tapping into like multiverse kind of thing and
Right.
pulling
Well,
different realities into existence.
well, and you've been a physics guy for a while, as like a side like hobby kind of thing, and
Mhm.
yeah, and we worked concepts of gravity and relativity into our your mom jokes at a pretty early age, so um, so I wasn't surprised that I was like, hey, there's this like space and time bending like fighter type, and you're just like, dibs,
Done.
dibs, done. Uh, um, and then Hobgoblin, uh, it's got some cool like stat bonuses. It's not necessarily purely optimized as far as like stat bonuses go, because it's like an int bonus and you don't really need that. But it's got the con bonus, which is helpful. Um, but then I think the feature uh, that I didn't know about before looking into it, but is really cool, is that ability to like give yourself a boost to your attack based on allies being nearby,
Mhm.
because of that like cultural thing of you don't want to fail in front of your tribe. Um,
Yeah.
so that makes for a cool thing where things that would be misses suddenly become hits, um, and that's a good way to get some more consistent hits in.
Gotta look good for the boys.
Gotta look good for the boys.
Represent. I can't let my dad down.
You like pat a small child on the head. Luxon shenanigans. Um, and then you're planning to take Sentinel, right, for a feat once you get a chance.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's got like the first two features that only work when it's you, like your literal you. When someone like attacks someone else, you can then get that reaction attack. Um, but then the speed reduction is rules as written unless they errata something. Where if you get your attack of opportunity through your echo, you still get the speed reduction effect from Sentinel, which can lead to some neat like lockdown scenarios, which some people online have called broken, and I know it made me question it to the point that I uploaded a video of it actually where I did an Echo Knight versus like a I did like a random through Kobold Fight Club, I did a random like deadly encounter for a single 6th level character, and then I had a 6th level Echo Knight, a 6th level Battle Master fighter, and then I did like a 6th level rogue. I forget what kind of rogue. I think I used Swashbuckler for that. So for the rogue and the Battle Master, I gave him mobility, and then for the Echo Knight, I gave him Sentinel. And what I found was, based on like the scenario, is that all fighters and all rogues are busted. And so there's this deadly encounter, and I think the Echo Knight didn't get hit once, but that was mostly because of decisions I made for the monster. The Echo Knight would have gotten hit once if I had made like the correct decision for the monster, because they have that decision of like, do I try to just run away from this Echo and just take the attack for opportunity, which low intelligence things probably would most of the time, because they don't know that their speed's going to be reduced to 0 in a moment. And so instead of getting their 2 attacks at you, they get no attacks. Whereas if they use one of their 2 attacks on the Echo and destroy it, then they can get up to you and use their other attack. But the way the scenario was, so the Echo Knight would have taken 1 attack, probably getting hit once from like a big beefy monster thing. The Battle Master with mobility was the exact same thing. They got hit once. And the Rogue got hit never. Like a Rogue with mobility is arguably one of the craziest, most powerful things I've ever seen in the game, if you're doing like a one-on-one enemy kind of thing. So my conclusion was like, I don't know, like, it's D&D, like, wizards can blow up cities at late levels, like, yeah, it's good, it's got cool mechanics, but also, you know, it's a fantasy world, everything's broken. None of these people should maybe realistic, like, when you look at the strength thing, like, you guys put on the Discord after camels were being lost in pit traps, they're like, wait, with his powerful build and its strength, he can just deadlift a camel. And I was just like, yeah. And I'm like, that's, yeah, well. But also no, because like those, like the rules for carrying capacity are like, an average strength person should, by rules, be able to throw on 150 pounds of gear and have no penalties to their mobility. And be able to just walk around like that all day and just be like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like, I got back problems right now from like a 25-pound person who, you know, wiggles a bit because he's a baby. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna multiply that by oh wow, man, I need some sleep because I can't do math suddenly. But like 6 times, like 6 of those babies on my back, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm fine all day.
Yeah,
so,
good to go.
Yeah,
whatever.
Good to go. I got a baby on my head slot. I got a baby on my chest slot. I got a baby on my back slot. A baby on each boot slot.
If the weight's distributed evenly and securely loaded, you know, it's yeah, you could do it.
Right. So yeah, it's I don't know, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it's a setting specific class anyways, so it's not like it's gonna pop up in too many people's games and wreak too much havoc. That said, ways to wreak too much havoc with it. So as far as like multi-class, this is a little ways in the future, because I would assume you'd want to get to at least 5th level to get the extra attack feature before you even thought about like splitting off into something else. But
yeah, like
there are cool things, like because you have a little bit more consistent chance of getting to use your attack for opportunity. Rogue is an appealing option, because if you get that option to hit with that sneak attack damage on your turn, which is usually doable, because you can usually get advantage somehow, or get an ally within 5 feet, and land a hit and get that extra damage. But since the way sneak attack has always worked for us, and I believe its rules is written is how that works too, is if you get a reaction attack and you meet the other criteria for a sneak attack damage, you also get sneak attack damage then. So sneak attack damage is not built or meant to happen multiple times in a turn cycle, so being able to get it more than once is just automatically kind of broken. So So that's definitely pretty cool. I don't remember your guys' stat spread, if there's like caster options that you might want to go into. Um,
Um,
but again, I don't even know if you'd be how interested you'll be, because like Echo Knight's got a lot of cool features for a lot of levels. Um,
yeah, easily through 7th level. Well, I don't
yeah,
really have the mental stats to.
you don't have stuff to justify going like wizard or anything like that. So, um, which is fine. Just straight fighter is like people poo poo it sometimes, but especially with the right feat selection, it can get real nasty.
Mhm.
Because I think on Critical Role Campaign 1, uh, Percy, the like noble gunslinger dude, he's just a fighter, and gunslinger was just a fighter subclass that Matt Mercer made.
Mhm.
And for me, it's basically it's a battle master fighter, but the people got surprised at one point because he's this gunslinger, and I think there was an episode where he picked up a like a magic rapier and like went after a dragon, and he made his like 3 attacks and then action surged and did like another 3 attacks, and it was this like dragon bane like longsword, and he's just like carving through, and it was just like it's like he's not even in his specialization. Like fighters are just good, and their specialty is picking up weapons and putting monsters down. Um, yeah, but he also had a magic initiate, I think, which you don't need to get one of your soft stats up to snuff for that, but the ability to like have hex or a spell like that you can just I mean, your bonus action is already pretty occupied by doing stuff with echoes, but
Mhm.
having that option before people get into range, we're at like 90 or 120 feet, you just throw a hex on them, and then you're doing an extra d6 on every time you hit.
Mhm.
As long as you keep on that concentration, that can be really good.
Interesting.
Yeah, so these are all little ways in the future kind of things. Magic Initiate could be picked up if you like,
Mhm.
take some time to talk to someone who can do magic and be curious. Like in game, have some curiosity in what they're doing and how they do it. Um, there's but yeah, I think your path is pretty straightforward as far as you're wanting to get your stats up. You want to pick up Sentinel. Um,
Mhm.
that's and kind of the best way to do that is just to stick on fighter for a while. Um, yeah, they keep trying
Yeah, definitely.
they keep trying to break this, but really it's just like, well, it's just a fighter. Um,
Mhm.
but it's a hell of a fighter. Um, and you're currently on the war pick plan. Sword, sword and or sword and shield is, but
Shield and pick.
shield and pick, yeah. Um, so that can be cool. There aren't a lot of like cool magic picks. Um, but there's always like a magic pick is usually pretty good. Uh,
Yeah, well, maybe we just have to check behind some rocks or something and see if we can't find a really cool magic
every
pick.
time like that sort of D&D stereotype of like the dragon flies in and you like cut its head off and then like just look behind a rock nearby and be like, oh good,
It's Horde!
this +3 full plate was just happened to be behind this rock. um
He dropped it as he flew in.
right. Oh man. um so speaking of dragon stuff, your like trinket, which they gave you as like a in the cult as like a ceremonial piece, is this cloak with dragon scales, which has the lovely Magic the Gathering art, um, which anybody watching who isn't aware, basically what I did was I had some old draft trash, it's called, where you'll open up like 3 packs of Magic cards when you do a draft, and you'll end up with cards that are good for that event. Um, or or just random cards. Like if you're in red at a certain point, you just start taking red cards. Um, and there's a there's I won't go into full like draft tactics, but that's something you do sometimes. You just like take all the red cards so that other people go, oh, red's being taken, and they stay out of red for like the next packs, and then you can get good cards. But you end up with a bunch of cards that are like a penny, and so you're not that worried about cutting them up into props for a D&D game. So I just kind of cut the art and then put them face down, let you guys just pick. I had a picture of it, and you guys all just picked like top right, center bottom, or whatever. And you ended up with this one. So, what do you know about it already? That's come out in game as far as what it can do.
So when I make a successful dexterity against elemental,
Really, any save. Some because like
oh,
cold damage is like a con save, but it's the same idea.
uh,
Yeah, but if you make your save,
against an element,
yeah,
then the dragon scale becomes that element and gives me resistance to it.
right. So like
So like,
from then forward, you would have resistance to that damage until that event happens again. So it'll be basically like right now it's attuned on cold damage. So you have it currently are sitting on resistance to cold damage. But if you get and I guess that'll be the thing.
fire breath.
Yeah, the thing you don't know about it necessarily, but I'll tell you now is accurate. If you get breathed on by with a fire breath or hit by a fireball, like that's an area effect fire damage thing. If you make your save, then going forward from there, it'll be tuned up for fire damage after that. So yeah, and then the thing that I did in this game that you guys, I don't think it's you. I think you already naturally concluded it. You just didn't have the gold for it. But the Madam Musk has a couple of potions that are basically potions of enchanting, and they're a little higher priced than the item would normally be, but you can apply it. And these are not your trinket is not considered enchanted for the purpose of like throwing another enchantment on it. So it is so you can get that like cloak of protection enchantment potion and pour it on there, get it on there, or hand it over to someone who can do enchanting, and they can do that 2 weeks of enchanting, and then it'll be that cloak of protection +1, and then also have this other thing that's unique to it.
Okay.
So
Very nice.
yeah, they're I kind of liked when I came up with that. That was I was like, oh, this kind of creates a little like sub game for everybody to do. So everybody has their little trinket and has their little thing where, and now if you guys see like we're gonna go fight some fire elementals, and you see a job to like go like kill a red dragon, you're like, we should go do that, and I should just like go stand in the way and like let. Oh yeah. Those like, hurt me, daddy. And like like and then like walk
These
out.
hobgoblins.
Right. It's like, all right, we're ready to go fight those fire elementals. And you're like, half your face is gone, man. And they're like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll sleep it off.
Right. Circling back to build stuff, something that I didn't know before I hadn't thought about it really, was that interaction where the echo only disappears at the end of your turn if it's more than 30 feet away. And so you can, if you use a couple rounds to set up, you can do these cool like the teleport trick and like just being able to use it for attacks and things can actually, that range can be pretty good. Having it 60 feet away from you and be able to get your round of attacks off is pretty rad. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Mm.
I need a flying mount.
Oh. Oh, you just hover. Or just any ability to fly. You just go up 30 feet and just have your echo just along the ground as you're above.
Yeah, no, I just like swoop down, summon him, swoop away, and then have him do the fights. And then the next round, swoop back down and
Right.
do it again.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Oh man. And I can see a bunch of people being like, this is broken, if they're thinking about it like, White Room Theory crafting thing. But for me, I don't know that that's functionally different from you having like a longbow and having a flying mount. Like if you were, instead of having to swoop down to drop your echo off to then make a bunch of attacks, Um, like especially since you have like the one-handed like war pick thing, it's like, oh, he can just swoop down and swoop out and do like 3 attacks that do a D8 damage. Be like, yeah, or he could just stay 600 feet in the air, raining down arrows, doing a D8 damage for the same number of attacks. um, yeah,
But those are familiar items
right.
that they're used to.
That's fair. Um, and I think I've discussed on my YouTube channel thing. I think a couple times. I know I've definitely had made the argument online on like Twitter or whatever, but the if you're a DM and you're really worried about it, like then I mean, what the hell are the minions doing if not like firing some arrows off at the echo to like clear the way for their boss to like charge and deal with serious damage? Like it kind of makes sense roleplay wise. They would take out whoever's in the way of their big boss dude. Um, I wouldn't do that all the time because like nothing sucks more than like a DM being like, "Hi, nice build. I'm gonna be shitting on it for the foreseeable future." So, haha, you thought you were gonna have fun. Um,
Then we get to 20th level and you let me make a new character.
right. Oh my god, I remember for anyone who watches the our biggest looking at each other moment in a D&D game was when we were both players in this like epic or near epic level campaign, and they're all like, "Your samurai is too powerful. You need to make a new character." And I just was like, "Oh no. Oh, what are you doing? No. Like no, don't do that. It's going to be so much worse. You don't understand how much worse it could be." And they're like, "It's just too powerful, man. There's no way to do anything around it." And I was like, "I can tell you how to beat it." Like, oh man, third edition was rad, and broken in a lot of fun ways, but a lot of like looking at it being like realistically, yes, this is a problem, but also it was fun. Um,
That was a fun game.
yeah, I mean, you one-shotted what 2 fiend worms in a row,
Yeah.
before the rest of the party could act.
Yep. That's what sealed the deal.
Yeah, that was the thing. They were like, "All right, this is ridiculous," uh, and that was almost entirely my fault too, because I took a lot of time and I didn't fully know what I was doing, but I knew a little bit what I was doing. Where I got these like goggles with like +30 to perception, and I just like my spot check was like +50 or something, and 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 they were like, "There's something outside the city." I'm like, "Can I make a perception check?" And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, 73, and they're like, "I mean, yeah, you see 2 fiend worms charging the city. They're like a mile out." And I'm like, "All right, well, we're not in a rush." They turn and be like, "Hey, you ready?" And then I think somebody else was like, "Oh, you're bringing me along too?" And I was like, "No." I just grabbed you, teleport, or I asked you where you want to be. You're like right there, and I'm like, "All right, cool, teleport to there." Yeah, Jitsu, and then like, yeah, Jitsu. Like, oh man,
That was the best.
and it was funny too because I believe you're the only one, any one of us, to legitimately do an Jitsu at some point, because you actually you were actually in Kendo Club, and so you were just like, "Oh yeah, these things can be devastating," and like you throw a magic weapon on top of it and just boom. Oh man, that was good times.
Oh yeah.
Not for the DM because they were I think they were one of the newer DMs of everybody, and they were pretty frustrated because they didn't know what else to do, and I think at that point I had enough experience where I was like, oh, I mean, if I was running the game, I know what to do. I could nerf the shit out of that, and then like there's a plethora of things that can go wrong here. Like if he's surprised, he's a regular fighter doing like 10 damage a round.
The disparity between Yaijutsu and just a normal attack was huge.
I remember I got a very I think that was when I emailed Wizards of the Coast about that Iaijutsu and whether the charisma bonus damage multiplied because it was a per die bonus, And in that edition, dice didn't multiply, but the bonuses multiplied. Um, and so it's just like, I was like, well, yeah, but he's getting like 22 dice, each one with like a +5 or a +6. Does that multiply? And they were like, oh yeah, totally. And I could almost feel like through the space time continuum, whoever went, yeah, that works, and they hit send, I could feel them be like, oh no.
Oh no.
Uh,
And that's how you kill 2 Fiend
yeah,
in less than 6 seconds.
you're right. And then you show up with that were-tiger, like, barbarian that literally can't die, and I'm just like, you see? He's still doing the same damage, he just now can do it every round, spread across 6 attacks.
Reliably, yeah.
Right. And,
The frenzied berserker.
it reminds me of the Necrogoblicon music video. You know that one? It's like,
I think
it's a metal thing, so I assume you've seen it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the goblin businessman, and the guy like one of the other business guys like backhands the girl that he likes, and the goblin's just like. The guy's like, the whole dude's like upper torso is just gone from all this like. It's just. So it's basically that, except every turn on a tiger that could make strength checks to just rip chunks of wall out.
Yeah, you want to talk about bench pressing camels,
Right.
That tiger.
Oh man, that tiger.
Yeah,
That
that
I
was-
wouldn't have known what to do with, because I was just being like, I don't know what's going on here.
He was silent
Yeah.
and deadly.
Oh man. Yeah, when you let somebody start with starting gold at like 18th level with like saying they can have one template thing and and be at 18th level, it's just like, oh man, this is gonna be bad.
What did his strength get up to? Was it in like the 40s or the 50s?
Whatever it was silly. It was and
Because I thought we calculated his carrying capacity
Yeah, we
was
did.
like a locomotive, like
Yeah,
an
it's a
actual
literal train you could pick up and like just go at full speed.
just carry all day.
Oh God, yeah, that stuff's nuts. I appreciate that addition for what it was. I never fully learned to appreciate 4th edition, partly because I don't think I had a group that could meet and play at the time. And then by the time we did get a group together, and I almost figured out how the system worked. By the time we had it kind of figured out, we were ready to just do Pathfinder, and all that. And it's the thing I really regret about 4th edition is it made me resist going into 5th edition, because I remember like, I'm gonna buy these books and like throw like $100-something down, getting the full book set, because it's like, yeah, D&D, and then I get them and I'm like, I can't understand this. And like, I'm like, where's the chart of what my abilities are at whatever level? And it was like, no, you just go like level to level and pick things. And I'm like, and a lot of these look the same, and I don't get like, I'm like, how many times a day can I cast fly if I'm a sorcerer at like 8th level? And it was like, I have no answer for that. And it's like, there should be an answer for that. So yeah, and with a couple of decades of gaming together, you know, with some chunky hiatuses in between. But yeah, we definitely have. Oh, you got a character sheet for it right there.
Yeah, my different guys. I don't know if I've got the tiger.
Right. Well, I think,
Oh, yeah.
and I think, yeah, because we lost your AI Jitsu master one time. I think Charmy was cleaning up,
Yeah.
and papers got thrown out that shouldn't have been, and sad times. Part of me wants us to do a game at some point where we rehash those characters. Like, I know my first game with the guy who introduced us to D&D, that I was playing this like fighter sorcerer cross class, you know, in 3rd edition, where cross class doesn't really work that well, at least not that kind of thing. Nowadays, you could do a fighter sorcerer and they could wreck everybody's shit. Fun fact: You know the one spell a turn thing? That is not true at all. That is specifically a bonus action spellcasting rule. So if you're a fighter with action surge, you can do an action spell and then action surge and do another action spell. There's no rule against that whatsoever. It's only when you use a bonus action to do a spell that that extra rule kicks in. Um, so that can get real silly if you're like fireball, action surge, fireball.
Yeah.
Yeah, get tasty. Huh?
I miss the old D&Ds,
It was
like
real.
three
It
three
was.
five. I
Yeah.
loved the broken madness of it.
The kind of the
Chaos.
I can understand why it's quote unquote bad because it is like it's not that's not friendly to new players when you're like, oh hey yeah, if you're not crunching down, if you're not busting out some calculus to crunch down the numbers of the best build that you're doing, then you're gonna be 100 points of damage behind when you get later levels on someone else who's doing basically the same build. But for somebody who wanted to like really just like get in and crunch the game for the game mechanics, it was very good. Um, very good for what it was. Um, I think I've steered away from that quite a bit, uh, especially because there's you you start to see behind the scenes a little bit and realize that a lot of the numbers are completely arbitrary. So somebody some advice things I've seen before were people who are having problems with people who have feat builds that are like great weapon master, where they're getting like they're doing 4 attacks and they're getting plus 10 damage on every hit and they have like advantage, so they're never missing, and so they're just churning out like 80 something damage a turn at like 5th level, and like DMs are like, I don't even know what to do about this, and the answer is sometimes like, well, I mean, if it's not gonna ruin somebody's experience, just say that it has more hit points,
Yeah,
and
bump up that HP.
just say it has more, and people are like, that's cheating, and it's like, you're the DM, you can literally say God shows up and kicks you in the balls. Like
But
there's
yeah, like if you get lucky and roll 320s when a white dragon
yeah.
flies in and chops its head off, his brother shows up.
I mean, that's happened once. Because I had nothing else planned that night. Motherfucking God of Jumping jumps up with his 3 nat 20s and just decapitates the white dragon. Oh man, was it just you and me that night, or who else was there? I don't remember who else was there.
I forget, but yeah, it
I
was
think we
just
were
like,
laughing so hard about the fact that it was dead immediately that we forgot what else was happening.
yeah, that's all that stood out that one.
Yeah. Um. Oh man, that's. I think this video has been more rant than substance, but that's fine. Ah. Oh man, that's all right. We figured out Ur'Durz has a rival from the cult. He's got a neutral good cult leader dad, which is just kind of that's fucking funny. Um, build wise, you're pretty much gonna stick with fighter, and you've made good use of using your echo as a barrier and taking advantage of attacks of opportunity. So there's no like additional narrative things you need to do to qualify for Sentinel. So you don't need to worry about that. If you suddenly were like, I also want Polearm Master, it'd be like, you should probably use a Polearm at some point. Uh,
Just borrow one from Bud.
yeah, just take Buds. Oh, Bud. Bud the... Yeah, Bud the Bud. And yeah, you know that you can upgrade that cloak, and it can hopefully be a unique kind of useful magic item. And if you guys are ever trenching around back in that city, you might not want to wear it just because it's a little, visually like, oh, it's that. There were, I think, I would say we'd say there were two, and so there was you, and then this the Ur'Dans, the rival. Ur'Dans probably had the other one. And so the two of you were sort of the like prime acolytes, coming up in the cult. And then, but as you were hitting your your maturity, you start getting those dreams, and be like, "Wait, this isn't right. I'm part of a different I'm part of a different group, a part of a different society. I need to go find it." Yeah, and yeah, that's all the things I wanted to go over, I think. Yeah, all right. I don't know if I should cut that like middle 30 minutes of just talking about third edition, breaking everything, or just leave
It's a
it
good
in.
history lesson for all
Yeah,
the kids who don't know about it.
it's fine. We'll leave it. Um,
Bonus content.
bonus content. Mostly bonus content. Oh man. Let's see. What else we got going on? Any long term story goals on stuff? I don't know if you'd be interested in trying to resolve things with your old cult past, or I keep bringing up the cult past, and so I think when I do that cut, I'm just gonna put like, never mind. We talk about it constantly. Just skip it.
Yeah, I think, now that he's like living this new life and the new way of life, he'd probably try to like convince as many people out of it
Mm,
before he convinced them with the war pick.
right. And you would are you married to the like? There's nothing mechanically uh, keeping you locked on to the Warpic style, other than did you take that +2 to damage fighting style if you're using a one-handed weapon?
The dueling is what
The,
I picked. That's
yeah,
yeah, that's the +2
the
to one-handed, right?
+2 damage if it's one-handed. So you'd want to stick to the one-handed so that you have a sword and a shield.
Mhm.
Um, but other than that, like if you find a longsword that's really cool, or like
Yeah, you could
a,
switch to anything.
a whip that's real powerful, like you can kind of switch it up to whatever one-handed weapon you can find, which is good because if you guys find like a powerful two-handed weapon, you know to just hand that to Bud, and then if there's a powerful one-handed weapon, they hand it to you. So it's always good if you're gonna have two fighters in a game that they're not stepping on each other's toes,
Mhm.
equipment wise. So totally, totes my goats.
Yeah, Ur'Durz not picky.
Ur'Dur.
He's just there to deal some damage.
I'm here to kill things and eventually liberate a cult, but that's not really on my. It's not really on my 5-year plan, but it's in my 10-year. Ur'Durz. And we keep playing him like he's a Pokemon and he has an int of 5 or something, but he's not, is he? I don't remember his soft stats.
No, it's 11.
Okay,
So
so he's fine. It's just like a running
average.
gag because of the name.
Yeah,
Um,
he's not very wise. He's
mhm,
lower than average wisdom.
right. And then what's his charisma at?
At 12.
A 12. Oh, a little above average. So, which kind of makes sense because all hobgoblins have that little sort of leadership and camaraderie mentality thing going on. So yeah. Remember you've got that. Remember you have that feature, and when you because of the like sort of they call it the bounded accuracy. Like you tend to hit more often than you tend to miss, just because of how ACs work and how everything gets calculated. So if you're missing, don't be too shy about burning that ability and turning it into a hit.
Yeah.
Trying to think of if you had other abilities sort of like that. Oh, it's like
Yeah.
your bonus attacks. I mean, they're you only get what, like 3 of them a day. Um,
Yeah, let's see. The Unleash incarnation.
yeah, so that can
Yeah.
be really good, and there's a worthwhile point to saving 1 or 2 uses for like when you run up to the big bad and it's time to do that. But sometimes you want to attack, action surge, attack, and use the bonus attack on each of those. And it's like sometimes you want to churn out you know 3 or 4 attacks in a round.
Just get that battle over with.
Yep. Put
I
that
was in that
mofo to
arena
bed.
that we did in the bar.
Oh right, yeah. That was kind of nasty. Oh man. that wizard should have helped that ogre more, because that was his only chance of walking out of there as a victor. It turned out. Oh yeah, so end of last game, you guys got hired by a wizard to do some stuff and ended up like. Then as soon as he started getting shot, everybody was like, I don't know what exactly to do here, and indecision abound, and then eventually Chicholito just like puts an arrow in his throat, and and then like the way I put it was like he's just like, "Thwip, all right, I'll be in my trailer," and like walks away.
And then I climb out of the hole.
Right?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, people? But yeah. Oh, it turned out you could have gotten out of that hole like pretty quick. Summon Echo, move it up to 30 feet. Next turn, move it 30 feet. Swap places as bonus action, and then you still have 15 feet of movement to like try to get involved in the situation. So you can't just use it for attacks. You got that teleport around bit too.
Yeah,
that could be handy. I love the way. I really like the way we've been describing it as like an alternate timeline version of you, and so I don't have like a list beforehand, so I'm just coming up with them on the spot. But I just love the idea of like, it's the version of you that decided to use a great axe, and it's like it's the version of you that decided to have a mullet, and it's like it's the version of you that decided to embroider his pants with the phrase "can't get up in these without Jesus," like whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah, dude, it's good.
Right.
And see, that lends itself easy to like me switching weapons whenever something better comes along.
Yeah, like who knows when you switch locations, maybe it is you like switching timelines, and like so you switch timelines and then you just like have a longsword. I think that'd be funny. You just like went to the top of the pit and you like you were like suddenly holding a heavy crossbow and you're like, wait, what?
That would be pretty cool.
That would be funny as hell. Yeah. Oh man, I like that a lot. That would be funny. I'm not gonna do that because like equipment changes should be an active decision that you make.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
For all you people who aren't tapped into the multiverse, I guess that's reasonable.
Right. Oh, and yeah, the echo movement is any direction, so up, down, sideways, flying around, doesn't matter. Same with the scouting ability, which does make it sort of on par with the familiar, or the anybody who took like magic initiate and took find familiar and got a owl familiar and had it flying around. Yeah, totally.
The Echo can't fly though, right?
Yeah, fly. It goes when you make it moves any direction you want.
Very nice.
In the which means I think at some point I could see you doing a thing where you manifest it 15 feet away from you, move it so that it's 45 feet away from you, or well, you couldn't do all this in one turn, but the idea of like moving it up and then swapping places with it so that you're in the air and you just come like plunging down for like a big strike.
Oh yeah,
I could see something like that. So the Echo is considered an object rules-wise, which rules as written, clarified by like the rules guy for D&D, has some weird interactions. Like spells that say target creature takes X damage, it's not a creature, so it's not a valid target for those spells. Like technically, by rules as written. Same as like when you cast Fireball, technically Fireball does damage to each creature within the radius, and again the Echo, not a creature. Some of those don't make sense to me at all, and some of them do. If there's like a mind sliver thing where it's like creature you can see within range takes 1d4 psychic damage, seeing its nightmares or whatever, be like it's a fucking hologram. That's so no. But if it's like you do 25 fire damage in a 20-foot radius, I'm like it's a big old kaboom. It hits the echo. Come on, people. Um, and same thing with I think Eldritch Blast is one of those ones where it technically can target creatures, not objects. Which it's always weird to me when something can target a person but not a statue of that person. I'm just like, why? What yeah, I know technically reading it, yes, the rule is it doesn't, but also why? Why would that be? So same deal. If I had you guys fighting an echo and you go to target with Eldritch Blast and I go, nah, it doesn't work. The rules say it's not a creature. I'm gonna be like, fuck you, dude. Yeah. So we'll play that kind of by ear on what makes sense, for the circumstance. And likewise, it's not a thing that would automatically set off traps or anything. When you guys were moving forward with all those traps, you can move your echo forward, but it's not literally walking and hitting the ground as it goes to set off those traps. So you didn't miss an opportunity to just move the echo through the field and have no risk of falling into the pit traps, because it would just
trap chicken you don't have to feed.
Right, yeah. So there is still reasons to get a trap chicken, and there's still reasons to check for traps and all that kind of stuff. That said, though, if you spot a trap and you can still make attacks through it from the range. So if you move the echo up there and you see where a pressure plate trap is, somebody already found it, you guys just back off, send the echo up, and the echo's like, boom! Then you're probably going to set it off. It'll be funny when you guys hit it and you see sparkle of energy and you're like, all right, we're good. And then you walk up there and it's a magic trap that goes off when a creature is within a certain range. And so you guys we're good. Walk up, fireball trap. So it's useful, and feel free to try it out, but don't get I'll try to be as fair as possible about everything, and per usual, anything that's happening one way to you guys should happen the same way to enemies doing the same thing. So trying to be consistent and things and stuff.
Right.
This divulged real fast.
way more than the 3rd edition tangent.
This went farther than 3rd edition, and
that was the samurai.
Yeah, that was the samurai.
Yeah, that's probably when we actually sealed the deal on.
Right, it was.
A new character.
It wasn't that he could take out 2 fiend worms without even blinking an eye. Be sucked down to hell and have such a high intimidation, he could look at a Baylor and be like, "What?" And the Baylor's like, "Yeah, okay, it's fine."
Well, nothing. I was just looking past you.
Nothing. Sorry. I'm just going. I didn't mean anything. I'm just. You have a good day. And
reading all the different items and stuff that he had.
3rd edition and its items. Yeah, it got a little out of hand.
Oh, yeah.
That was one thing I know. I think you lamented it a little bit, but I personally had a good connection with the idea of having 3 attunement slots, and that's it. So it's and see, I think the difference is I've played one Resident Evil game because the inventory management was such torture to me that I was just I'm like, this isn't fun. I'm tired of it, and I'm pissed off, and I need to prioritize how many grenades I'm gonna hold to hold the shotgun, and I'm like, this is a nightmare. And then I think if we panned over to you playing the same game, you'd be like, oh yeah, oh, ooh, 5 more bullets if I go like this, and
yeah, I mean, if you got the space, you got the items. You
Right.
know, that's just how it works.
And I'm not hating on you for it. It's just not for me. But yeah, it does.
Why do you hate me?
Because everything is a little more a little more centralized power level wise and amount of crunch wise. It makes it a lot easier to be like, well, I have this character concept, so what'll work for it, and that's been fun too, because I'll have a character idea, Like this lady you guys just ran into in game, this is her like third build, and it's basically the exact same character from all three different builds. And I was like, okay, she was a ranger at one point. She was like a fighter wizard subclass at one point, and then it kind of landed on warlock eventually, with a couple of like feat and feature choices, where I was like, okay, I think this best fits the character and gets the abilities that I'm looking for, to justify things that are happening. So there's a lot of that where, you know, somebody might want to play a paladin, but then there's like, you know, you're walking into a group with two fighters that are already melee fighters and like a rogue that's emphasis on melee rogue, and so you show up with this paladin and you're like, I'm like another melee guy. Oh. And then you're like, well, I want to play the same character, but I want to be more like ranged and utility based. Be like, oh, you can just be a celestial warlock, and you're basically the same character with a completely different ability set, which I think is cool personally.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, and I might have to, just for like video length, I'm probably gonna have to cut the middle like 30 minutes of like of like we support you LGBT community, and also third edition was broken. Like I'm gonna just like I'm gonna take out like 30 minutes, and then like this last like 10 seconds will basically cover it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's gonna have to go. Well, I'm gonna hit stop recording.
Right.
All right, thanks for stopping by, anybody that was watching. Monkey playing Ur'Durz, our Echo Knight fighter. Ur'Durz. Ur'Durz. Yeah, just like the coolest Pokemon. Oh man, you could totally use the subclass as a as like a Pokemon thing where you're like, go Echo me, and like pretend to like throw a Pokeball, and it like just summons the Echo. Like if you just reflavor the whole thing.
Just throwing rocks.
Hitmonchan, go! And it's just the Echo comes out and it starts like punching things.
Ur'Durz with brass knuckles.
Yeah. That's me from the timeline where I'm a Pokemon. All right. Peace out, anybody watching. Thanks for stopping by.